fires and scores! Matvei Michkov has his first goal at the Wells Fargo Center.
This is episode 122 of the Liberty Yell. My name is Chris Stumpo alongside Derek Dunn. And right before we hit record, Derek, of course, is going to remind me that we have not talked since the Dvorak extension. And I'll let Derek take off at this point because he's been itching to say this to me.
Stumps was right. He was not going to react about a Christian Dvorak extension that did not happen. That lasted for all of about 4 hours after that podcast dropped because Danny was listening to the pod and he said, "Oh, I got you." And he hit us with Dvorak for 10 years by $10 trillion per year.
So, 5 years, took a little bit of a pay cut, $300,000 less, but 5 years at 5.1 until 2031. And I realize we have not talked about it. And like I said, I'll stay true to my guns. Now is when I will talk about it. Now is when I will say I don't like the signing at all. I will react to it because it happened, Derek. It happened. It's shitty. I don't think we all went over like the timeline was pretty crazy the morning after the extension happened. I mean, of course, you have one side who likes it because of how they've been playing lately and how there's no other C's to go and get, and this was the safe option. And then, of course, you have the opposite side who absolutely hates this. And I think both sides have brought up good points, but I find myself on the side of that this is just not a panic move, but just kind of like the same old-time Flyer thing, right? They signed this guy to be kind of a Band-Aid. Yeah, can't really find a C. Get a guy you can put between Konechny and Zegras, and maybe he puts up some points. But they fall in love with these guys, and I think that's the main thing with a lot of people is it's not even a Dvorak thing. It goes along with the Konechny talk the last year and a half. It's not even about the player individually because Dvorak's not bad. He's not a bad player at all. But they fall in love with these type of guys, and handing him 5 years, guy who's going to turn 30 in a month, is just insane to me, especially given that, I mean, it's not like me and you are hockey experts. And like, not to sit here and say, "Oh, we told you so," blah, blah, blah. But like, if you really didn't see this regression coming, then I really don't know what you're watching, just to put it nicely, you know?
Yeah. First of all, I do have to point out the wonderful irony of Charlie O'Connor and others being like, this Dvorak extension is going to fire up the boys in that locker room. Yeah, it got them fired up, all right. Fired right up the ass several times. But even beyond
especially
that,
after the body bag game in Anaheim.
What I would say is they did it here and they do it too often. They just lose objectivity with their own guys, and they start thinking things that they have no business thinking and would not think if they were dealing with any other guy who wasn't a Flyer. Like, for example, Rick Tocchett was talking about Christian Dvorak still young. No, he's not. He's 29 years old. Now, granted, that's young in life. It's not young in the NHL. He is on the back nine of his prime as we speak. He's probably exiting his prime, if not already there. He's going to start declining very soon because he isn't closer to average NHL player, and this is when closer to average NHL players start to decline. But that is how anybody would view this deal, unless it's the Flyers, where it's like, "No, I see how hard he works, bro. He's going to beat the odds, bro." They did this with Konechny too. I see how hard he works, bro. He's going to age like Brad Marchand, bro. He hasn't even had his best seasons yet. He's going to come in next year 100 points, easy. No, none of that's going to happen because they're not the exceptions. I know you see how hard they work. I know. But you have to separate you see how hard they work from this is the reality of NHL players, and they just can't do that when the Flyers are involved. They get too emotionally invested on their own guys. And I think that's probably going to be the downfall. Well, if there is a downfall of Danny Briere, we don't need to ask what will it be. It will be exactly this: falling in love with the dudes he used to be in the locker room with, or the guys who are friends with the guy he used to be in the locker room with. That's kind of what's happening here. Like, these are all his buddies. And he's treating it that way.
And to say, I mean, I saw a lot of people's rebuttals the day after or the morning after is it's only 5.1. You can remove off of it if you want to. And that's like the number one thing that I saw. And yeah, you can. And I brought up something that this one guy was like, that's such a bad comparison. I mean, it's really not, though. It took them how long to move off Scott Lawton? And a lot of people will point to that trade. And there are some trades that Danny has made that they're just good trades. The Provorov trade, the Zegras trade, good trade. But, I mean, there are also trades that people point at with Danny and, well, he did this, and Lawton's the one of them. It's like, how long did they wait to do that? And even then, it was like they were kind of, it seemed like they were just like, okay, fine, we'll finally do it. And luckily, the league perception of Lawton remained high throughout those years. I don't know why. I mean, he's a solid player. I'm not going to get into that. But it's sort of like the same thing in those terms. It's like, well, they can move off this contract. Well, first of all, he has a no-trade clause next year in 2027, 2028. Then it turns into a modified. So you can't get rid of him unless he waives in the next 2 years, which, I mean, why would he waive? You're comfortable. I'm sure he likes Philly. He said it multiple times. Who's to say that they would even want to move off of him? Even if he does, I mean, I keep hearing people, I mean, you just said it, if he like his prime, he's not going to be in the middle. This is a guy that we're talking about who his career high is 38 points, and he's really cashing in playing next to Zegras. I mean, and even then, so it's like you would think his point total would be a little bit higher than it is, right? If you're playing next to Trevor fucking Zegras. He only has 29 in 45 games this year. But my total overall point there is, they could move off of him in 2-3 years, but I don't think they will. I have no confidence in them doing that. Is my point.
Why do people watch the Flyers fuck up and then immediately say, but don't worry, they'll play perfectly from here? Why would I not assume they won't make the same mistake they just made?
Why is that the first thought process, is to be like, but they can get rid of this guy in 2 years. It's okay.
I think it's like people are admitting, okay, yeah, this contract is ass, but don't tell me that it's ass, because don't worry, I've already worked it out in my head that Danny's going to ship him off to Shanghai in 2 years.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen, man.
It's a very weird reaction to have to it. Like, it's very weird thing to say after a trade like that happens, for sure. And I even said this the morning after too. It's really weird considering how fast I mean, I don't want to spend too long on here. I mean, people know our feelings on it, but it's really weird how they didn't even wait until close to the trade deadline time. I mean, they hopped on this, obviously, and it is what it is. I don't think it's a good signing, but I think it's interesting how, I mean, they didn't even the thought of, okay, let's continue riding this. Let's continue having him next to Zegras and Konechny, and maybe a team offers a first round pick and a B-, C- prospect. I mean, I would take that as a rebuilding team that you keep calling yourself, but we all know it's not actually a rebuild. But I think that was interesting too. I think that says a lot of where they are center wise in the organization, where they realize that they're not going to be able to go out. I mean, we keep saying you're not going to be able to go out there and get one with a bottom 10 pick. But if Vladar is hurt long term, which I did see something today, but it's not long term, thankfully. It might happen. If this continues to snowball downhill, man, it's not looking good so far. The regression is here.
Yeah, and that it's come this hard, this fast, I think we can dispense with the notion that the Flyers of yesteryear were real. This is regression. This is what it looks like. It is all hitting us now. It turns out that getting scored on 35 times in your first 44 games, what was it? I guess 36 and 45 after tonight. It turns out that that's a bad omen and usually does not mean that you're actually the awesome comeback kids. By the way, I was thinking about this last night. If the idea was that we're like the comeback kids and we're never out of a game, why are we such a defensive team? Why is a defensive team getting scored on first and then having to chase the game and score a bunch of goals to get back in it? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what?
Jordan Hall tweeted out yesterday after we went down 1-0. This is the Flyers' 31st 1-0 deficit in 45 games, and obviously they went down 1-0 tonight, right? Because I was at my game. Pretty sure they were down 1-0 tonight, so that's the 32nd 1-0 deficit in 46 games. And I mean, that's also something that we talked about in previous pods. Like, we don't want to be these like Debbie Downers. We're obviously Flyers fans that want to see the team succeed, but nobody looks at that and goes, that's sustainable. Going down 1-0 in every fucking game and clawing your way back into every single game is not a sustainable way of winning, especially when goals come as scarce as they do.
Yeah.
And I think we're starting to see that.
I mean, let alone what we've allowed over this losing streak. Today was the first time that we've scored over 2 goals, I believe, since the Edmonton and Anaheim game. And it's like I wrote about, and we're probably going to get into at some point the technical aspects of why this is the way this is. The Flyers do not generate anything offensively. They just don't get chances. And so the only way that you're going to get, these 3 goals, 4 goals, or 5 goals outbursts is if the shooting luck is going your way. So if you look at our schedule, you're going to see a bunch of we exploded for 5 goals here, and then we fell asleep and scored 3 goals over the next 5 games. And that's just how this is going to go for the rest of the season. Honestly, that's just how Tocchett teams are. Especially this Tocchett team where we don't have Quinn Hughes.
Yeah. I want you to get into that eventually, but real quick, 9 goals for since that Ducks game. So in the last 5 games, where is that right? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5 games. So Toronto, Tampa twice, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh. They are 0-4-1, which is bottom 5 in the league. They are 5th worst in the league at points at goals for, and they are 3rd worst in the league with 1 point in those 5 games, going into that overtime loss against Toronto. They have been awful since that huge Anaheim game, coming off the emotional ride that game always is for the last 2 years. They've been terrible. Power play, 7th worst at 12.5. The PK, which I mean, I feel like hasn't really been talked about a lot. I mean, I've seen some people talk about it on the timeline. 5th worst at 61.1. So everything is bad right now. Like we talked a lot about, I mean, even you in, I think, your last article, I think you started it off by talking about how they are a good defensive team. Like, you're not going to take that away from them, but that takes a lot away from their offense.
Yes.
And with a team that can't score goals, you need at least a really good power play to stand above water, or a semi-decent PK, which has been, I feel like that's been one thing that you could point at and be like, okay, they've been pretty solid here for the last year and a half. But even that has started to fall. So there is not a single aspect of the Flyers right now, despite their 5v5 defense, that I can point at and go, yeah, this is good.
Yeah. And the problem is, when you go long enough where you can't score, eventually you're going to start taking chances no matter what the coach is telling you, and they're going to be the wrong kinds of chances. You're going to just, this happened a lot year one Tortorella. It's why he wanted Kevin Hayes gone. Kevin Hayes was eventually like so tired of going down in games and not being able to score any other way and just them not creating offense whatsoever that he would just straight up pull KHL Michkov and chill in the neutral zone for 3 minutes. Be like, eventually you're going to get this puck down here and then we can maybe score. And, that was egregious. But that's the sort of thing directionally that people start doing when you need goals and can't get them. And what that's going to mean is the defense is going to slip. The longer you go being offensively incompetent, eventually that is going to hurt the defense.
Talk about the pistol offense and explain how that works. I want people to hear you talk about that because you've been talking about it on the timeline a little bit, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
Okay, so the piston offense is probably the most confusing name for a hockey system I've ever heard in my life, but it's a relatively simple concept. So just start with the Dave Hackstall / old school Carolina Hurricanes / even Florida Panthers to extent spam point shot bonanza style. Mm-hmm. But there's a few changes that Tocchett makes to the traditional idea of spamming the point shots, where most players would kind of be spread out. There would be one player in front of the net looking for that screen, tip, or rebound. There'd be another player on one wall, another player on the other wall, all looking for retrievals. And then you have your 2D up top blasting away. What Tocchett tries to do is he tries to have the remaining two forwards who are not touching the puck. So just picture post-retrieval. Somebody has the puck in the offensive zone along the boards. They filter the puck up to the point, and then the remaining two forwards go in, crash the net simultaneously, and try to create essentially a layered screen. So the goalie's not just looking through one flyer, he's looking through two flyers, and then he's obviously trying to sort through the traffic of his two defensemen in front of the net. Theoretically, what's supposed to happen is because of the additional traffic around the net, you're going to see more instances of broken plays, unintentional tips, rebounds, and all those kind of greasy goals. That is supposed to juice the hell out of those. And it does to an extent. It definitely does juice the amount of greasy goals that you score, but it also really hurts the number of shots that you're taking because you really have to be a wizard to get the puck through that much traffic. And if you're just relying on it hits Christian Dvorak in the ass and bounces in the net, that's not going to happen a whole bunch of times. But when that's your first pitch, essentially, and this is the reason I mentioned Quinn Hughes, this is the way the defenseman can really elevate this particular system. Because if things are working, and it's rarely working this way for the Flyers, but if things are working, the defenseman will get that puck from the first forward. They'll catch it in stride and laterally walk across to the blue line to the middle of the ice, and then they'll take that shot from there. Ideally lining it up perfectly with the two screens so that you have two potential deflection opportunities, and then you score a bunch of goals, you get 80 points, and we're all happy. The issue that the Flyers run into and that the Canucks ran into when Quinn Hughes wasn't on the ice is there are about two defensemen in the world who can actually pull that off at a high level consistently. Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar. Because you not only need the legs to do that, like Jamie Drysdale has the feet to do that, but Jamie Drysdale doesn't have the hands and the offensive instincts and the shot, the precise shot to get into that middle lane and then see the opportunity to sift a seeing eye shot through 8 sticks. That is something that requires a very special player to actually elevate that system. And I think the reason you see this sort of situation where Jamie Drysdale was probably the Flyers player they missed the most, and that all these forwards getting hurt has almost zero relevance whatsoever, is
It's
because
not a probably. It's a 1,000%. It's the one player that they missed the most out of that Anaheim
and
bag game, whatever the fuck that was.
Yeah, like all these forwards, you can take them out, and at times you'll even forget they're not playing. And the reason is because you very rarely get into a situation in a Tocchett offense, in the Piston offense, where your forwards matter. Like Rodrigo A-Balls and Travis Konechny have the exact same ability in the Tocchett offense, which is get the puck up to the point, crowd the net, try to get a tip. Like, it just does not maximize the skill of the forwards at all, which to me is a tremendous mistake just as far as roster construction and team synergy with the Flyers, because the Flyers have, frankly, tremendously unskilled defensemen and very skilled forwards. That's the situation they're running with right now. They do not have a guy like Quinn Hughes, but even below that, they do not have a guy like Shane Gostisbehere right now, who you are no doubt, when this guy gets in the offensive zone, 100% confident he's going to start cooking. Nobody's cooking with that kind of consistency on the Flyers back end. It's just not happening. But you do have these forwards who, if you get them the puck in the right situation, they're going to make some good shit happen. The problem is that's so rare. It essentially relies on people to go rogue within the system and just be like, I am taking matters into my own hands. And
which like three guys do in like Zegras, Konechny, and Michkov.
Exactly.
Or have the capability of doing, I should say.
Yeah. There's three guys that have the capability of doing it. And the problem that all three of them run into to varying degrees is, even if they want to go rogue and call their own plays, that doesn't mean the other people on the ice are going to read that opportunity. Now, when Zegras and Konechny are playing together, they both want to do that. So they will at times be on the same page. Like, there was the goal they scored from that really nice cross-crease pass from Zegras to Konechny, where Konechny scored right off the back post.
Yeah.
That really great goal. I think it was in a Chicago game. That happened because Zegras was in that situation where he could have triggered the Piston offense, but instead decided, no, I'm going to hold this for a little bit. I'm going to look and see what else is open. Now, usually nothing else is open, but Konechny read the same thing and said, no, I'm not going to crowd the net. I'm going to sneak off a little bit past the back post here, and then he gets the backdoor pass, and it's a goal. That's the sort of thing, frankly, that needs to be the system. Like, the system needs to be Trevor Zegras holding the puck up the wall, waiting for one of his two line mates to get open. And that, as simple as that sounds, that is what a lot of teams are doing when they have skilled forwards, okay? And you'll have your 3-2 structures where you got one forward up high with a 2D and then two forwards down low. Colorado is famous for that. They'll get Nathan McKinnon up high, or whoever the forward is, and they'll just have those three guys play a sort of slashing give and go game where you'll have like Makar and McKinnon both jumping down the wall. And then you'll have the Wild or the Lightning. Well, no, the Lightning play a different. We'll go with the Wild, who play a lot of down low hockey. Like Kaprizov plays a bunch of 3 forwards down low, 2 up high, a similar structure to what Tocchett wants to do, but without the layered screens, no Piston offense. Instead, it's just Kaprizov has the puck along the wall. He's going to use his anticipation and his skill level to know when one of his line mates are going to get open. He's going to hit him with a gorgeous pass. He's going to either get an assist or get a return pass for a goal. That is the difference between a team that can actually score versus the Flyers, who I don't think it matters who you run it forward right now. They're just not going to score a lot of goals because they don't play it offensive system that's very conducive to creating goals. It's the Kevin Patullo syndrome.
Yeah, it's a very limiting system. I think I saw somebody on X say say something along the lines of his system seems to be, or his system seems to be more of what can my system do for you instead of, okay, what can I kind of build my system around you and your skill sets. It's kind of just like, I don't care what kind of player you are, you're going to play to my system and play the way I want you to play. And I think a lot of coaching now, especially nowadays, is, I mean, yeah, you can keep little tidbits of your system throughout, but you still got to let these players be these players. And I think you said something along the lines of that I agreed with, and it was like, if the Flyers were riding Michkov playing really well and Zegras playing center and putting up points per game, and the power play was good, like, this would all be different. But it's not. None of that is happening. So I feel like that's why we're a little bit more pessimistic, if you will. But
yeah, exactly, because it puts you in a situation where even if they were to continue winning the way they were going to be winning, you're still going, where the hell is that number one center coming from? Where the hell is that number one defenseman coming from? Where the hell is a single competent offensive zone defenseman coming from? Like, these are things that teams need to win at the highest level, and we just do not have an avenue to get them. Whereas if you're telling me that we were winning because Trevor Zegras is a 90-point center, then I don't really need to know where the number one center is going to come from because I found his ass. If you're telling me where's our defenseman cooking in the offensive zone coming from, I'm going to tell you the defenseman cooking in the offensive zone is whoever is on the ice with Michkov, Kucherov style, because Michkov is apparently already that good to where he's turning Darren Radish into Victor Hedman. Like, yes, if Michkov was already doing that superhuman stuff that he might be able to do in 3 years, and if Zegras was a 90-point center, then we wouldn't need to have these conversations because the core would be here. It would be established and ready, and I would know exactly how we are going to compete for a Stanley Cup. But the way we were winning games, you could not envision that working in round 2 of the playoffs. You couldn't even really envision it working in round 1 of the playoffs.
Fuck the playoffs. I wouldn't even envision that working in late February, early March. Like, going down as many times as they do. I mean, I just told you Jordan Hall's tweet. They go down 1-0 in a lot of games, and consistently coming back and scratching your way back in the games. It's not a sustainable way of winning, especially when you're not doing that winning with those comebacks through the power play. They have not won one single game through the power play. Now, there have been games where they could have won if they just had a competent power play. But like I said, there is not a single part, and I'm really not trying to sound like a fucking Debbie Downer, but like, this is the reality. There's not a single part of this team right now that I look at other than maybe the defensive side of the game, 5v5, and go, yeah, that would play in late February. Yeah, that would play in early March. Yeah, I'm confident that they could walk into a really tough building in Carolina in early March and win a really tough, close game. I have no confidence. The power play is, I feel like I've been repeating myself every fucking week that we've been on here, but the power play is insane. It should be the number one thing everyone is talking about, but the fact that you're still trying to spread it out, and it's the worst power play in the league.
I think
it's insane.
Everybody is almost like wave the white flag on the power play because they can't figure it out. They can't figure out how you switched coaches, switched personnel, switched everything, and it's still ass. I think I know. I legitimately think I know. And it was watching the Tampa power play again that really clicked it in for me. If you watch the way the Tampa Bay Lightning play on the power play, and this is even besides Kucherov elevates what I'm about to talk about, but this is besides him. Everything Tampa does is methodical, decisive, and calculated. There is no meandering. There is no wondering who's going to do what. When the second they gain possession in the offensive zone, it's 2 passes into a shot that they had already choreographed. They have 3 shots that they just cycle between because that's what they think will work on your style of penalty kill. And eventually one of them is going to go in. It's a very robotic way of making a power play work, but in reality, that's basically how power plays work. It's bang, bang, this is my shot. Bang, bang, this is the look I wanted. Whereas the Flyers will get in there and it'll be like, do I want to go off to this wall or that wall, or do I want to work down low, or do I want to rotate? They don't know what the hell they're doing.
They react off the penalty killers instead of letting the penalty killers react off them. That's essentially what you're explaining.
Yes, partially. I also think there is an element, and I think this was consistent through both coaching staffs, and I think it's because the power play has been so bad. It's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy where they're trying to get in there and coach the power play, and they're over-coaching the power play because it's like, no, you need to go for this look in this situation, and then they'll get in the game and it's like, which look did we have to go for again? Fuck, which side of the ice were we going to run this on again? Like, there's just no flow.
I just clicked January 1st to right now, and I think that is including this game tonight against Pittsburgh. Second worst in the league in power play percentage at 11.5.
I'm appalled that somebody's worse than we are.
And second worst on the PK since January 1st at 56.5%. Vancouver is worse penalty kill wise at 50%. And the Islanders at 8.3% since January 1st are worse than us. So
the Islanders have a worse power play than we do?
Since January 1st, yeah.
Oh, okay. It's probably like a shooting slump, honestly.
Yeah, but right now they're not.
That is my guess on why the power play is still ass. I just don't see a team that has any kind of natural flow on the power play. And I do think the personnel impacts that. Like, there is a reason it started with Kucherov. Because I remember, I think it was Josh who was talking about, because he has some connections to the Tampa Bay organization. The power play meeting with Nikita Kucherov is almost literally just Nikita Kucherov telling everyone to shut the fuck up. This is how we're doing it. Like, the power play coach will walk in and he'll be like, all right, guys, this is what I studied. And Kucherov will be like, stop talking. This is what we're doing.
The Flyers need that, bro. The Flyers need somebody to do that.
Yeah, like they just need to get on the same page and be like, this is what we're doing. And it can be one guy, it can be Kucherov telling everybody to shut the fuck up, or it can be two guys like McDavid and Drysdale are a lot more collaborative, where it's like, yeah, we're going to cook them this way. As long as everybody's on the same page, and not only are you on the same page, but you are bought into what you're doing, in the same way of like a defensive structure. You have to be bought into the defensive structure and be willing to be in the positions that you need to be in and make the reads that you need to make. It's no different on the power play. You have to not only know your assignment, but also be bought into executing it at the highest level. And the Flyers just aren't, because they don't even know their assignment.
So the idea of putting your two highest skilled players together, is that a wild concept in your world, or am I living in a fucking insane dystopia or something where
apparently
it's like not a thing?
No, it's because he's fat, and so he can't he can't sit still on the fucking power play because he's too fat.
If they were serious about making the playoffs and they actually pushing towards that, you would see Barkey with Michkov and Dvorak next game, and you would see all three of them with Konechny and Drysdale on the power play the next game. But you won't. You will not see. I would be surprised if you even see Barkey and Michkov together next game, to be honest with you, at this fucking rate we're going.
Nah, bro, it'll be Delorier, Couturier, Michkov next game.
Oh, my gosh, dude.
And they will switch Delorier and Michkov so that Delorier is on the right wing.
You know what's funny? I just clicked October 8th to January 15th, the whole season. We have the worst power play in the whole league at 50%, and then the Islanders are right behind us at 15.2. So even for the fucking season, they've been terrible. And we have, on the season, the 11th worst power play kill at 77.8. So like I said,
how much high-end talent do you need? Okay. Let's look at, I'm just going to pull up my phone here. We're going to look at the best power plays in the season. I suppose you would have them up too, but
Why right now? And it's on the season?
yeah, just the best power plays.
Canadians, Oilers at 33.8, Pittsburgh at 29.6, Dallas at 28.5, Vegas at 26.5, and Boston.
Bro, who the fuck does Boston employ besides David Pastrnak that the Flyers are sitting there going, well, we just don't have that.
Just can't figure it out, boys. No idea what's going on. It's actually fucking insane. We sit here, we make jokes about it, but it's one of the most, especially with adding Zegras with a guy that you already have in Michkov. I mean, and Konechny's not a bad power play guy either. It should not be this bad with the talent that they have on that power play or on the team. It's not on the power play yet, but it's insane. It's one of the craziest things that I think I've seen in the last 5-6 years that like fans just don't talk about at a consistent basis, at least enough for me. I feel like I hop on Twitter after a game. I've seen more of it lately, especially from Alex, I think his name is. Shout out Alex. Yeah. But it's definitely one of the fucking crazier stories of this season that we just have not talked about. Obviously, Michkov has taken up a lot of that, and he has to do with the power play and the problem behind it. But
yeah, look, this is a big part of it. And one of our viewer questions was like a half question, half comment. I'll just read it since we're kind of addressing it.
Yeah, go ahead.
1 second. Let me find this one. Here we go.
Will the Flyers power play ever fucking score a goal ever again?
Answer no. But from Know Your Cree on X, we hear about sophomore slumps all the time, but did he forget how good he is, or is it something else in reference to Michkov? Honestly, you know what it is? Yeah. It's the Flyers forgot how good Matvei Michkov is. They simply do not utilize Matvei Michkov in a way to where he's going to do Matvei Michkov things. Like, Matvei Michkov is no different from what he was last year. In certain isolated areas, he's a little better. He's got the same weaknesses that he had last year. He's got the same freakish strengths that he had last year. You just, at 5-on-5, and for about 3 months on the power play, utilized him to those strengths. And now you come in this year, and we're not doing any of that. I just went into the whole diatribe about the 5-on-5 system, but to dovetail that, like, where is Michkov going to plug in his superhuman skill level into that system? Answer: nowhere, because it's not required.
I mean, even in this, it's like, I think you said it. Like, are there spots of his game that you could actually objectively talk about that he needs to get better at? Yeah, sure. I'm sure he would say the same thing. But even in this system, like, he does a really good job of entering the zone, finding space, and then getting it back to the point. Like, there is an avenue in this system where he could actually be pretty good. Like, he's really good net front. He makes a ton of a space for himself along the wall and then curling back and finding the point guy. But the thing is, like, what the fuck do you want him to do with Grunstrom and Couturier next to each other? It's like, you saw it tonight. The moment you put somebody who can think the game like him and make subtle passes like him, I mean, him and Barkey play off each other really, really well. Him and Zegras play off each other really, really well. And it does not take a hockey genius to turn on a TV and see that he can just read off certain players really well. Some players can play with him and some just can't. And Couturier can't. And we saw today, Barkey and Michkov were 3-4 seconds ahead of Couturier the entire night. So it blows my mind that, like, people were like, well, he's not really doing anything that's, like, blowing my mind. But, like, he's making subtle little plays. Like, I think somebody said it tonight very, very, they pointed out very well. He makes a subtle play that results in an actual scoring chance almost every shift. But I think it gets a spotlight gets put on it when he's with somebody who can turn that play into something eye-popping or into something just a nice shot on goal. I think you saw a lot of that with Barkey tonight. Like, you finally put somebody that can think the game like him and can finish some of the plays or start some of the plays that he can finish really, really well. But it's like, I've watched him with Grunstrom and Couturier the last 2-3 weeks. Like, what the fuck do you want him to do there? Like, you give Christian Dvorak, Travis Konechny, and Trevor fucking Zegras all year, and he's played well with them. But it's like, why do you give him that, and then you ask Michkov to put up points next to Couturier and Grunstrom? And Grunstrom's been okay, but I mean, come on, guys. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here, man? Like, I don't have to sit here and hate on Grunstrom to get my point across. And everyone knows what I'm talking about.
100%. And JC's mentioned this in the transition game in particular. I think this is where his line mates make a ton of difference. Like last year with the system they were playing, Michkov could get going a lot of times a second before everybody else. And he would get a puck on the move and already ahead of everyone except one of his defenders. Michkov in a one-on-one situation, Jamie Drysdale has talked about this. Like, he is impossible to defend one-on-one because you never know what exactly he's going to do. And you saw it a lot last year where it's like, he's the first guy in the zone. The Flyers are coming in behind him. He's got one guy that he doesn't even need to beat him. He just needs to paralyze that one defender. And then he's going to hit a trailer. He's going to hit the F2, Owen Tippett style, crash in the net. He's going to hit any number of options. He's going to keep it himself. But that optionality just doesn't exist as freely with the way they want to play under Rick Tocchett, because Rick Tocchett teams, and this is every Rick Tocchett team, is notoriously slow out of the defensive zone. Like, they just do not break out well. And so Michkov is never ahead of the play in transition. He's always like, well, I got the puck. All of my teammates are right here, so I can't manipulate the layers or really do anything. What the fuck do I do? Because I'm not a guy that can just do Owen Tippett style, skate 0 to 60 through everybody. Like, that's never been his game. It's never going to be his game. Like, Michkov is not going to, over the summer, suddenly turn into a great skater, like a great speed skater, to where he's just going to come in next year in October. He's going to burn them straight lines. It's not going to happen. He has a superpower that he can impose on the NHL at any time, almost every game. And it's just a question of, are you going to play in a manner that puts him in a position to use that superpower? That's what it comes down to. And if I'm the Flyers, that's the only thing I would be thinking about, is like, this is my most talented player. Trevor Zegras comes reasonably close, but this is my most talented player. How does he need to play to make the most of his talents? Well, that's how we are going to play as a team. Because how do you win in any sport? You have a competitive advantage against the rest of the league. That's how you win in any sport. How are the Flyers going to get a competitive advantage over the rest of the league? Are they going to block shots harder than the next guy? I don't think so. You know
Box
how they're going to do that.
dude. Box plus one.
They're going to out Vladar the next guy. But no, in all seriousness, the way they're going to have a competitive advantage over the rest of the league is they are going to be better in small areas than the rest of the league, because they employ Matvei Michkov, who is like a superhuman in that department. Like, I tweeted it out tonight. There is an almost ethereal experience to watching Michkov play hockey, because you'll see him touch the puck and you will see some very large NHL defenseman look like he's about to murder him while he's along the boards. And it's like, oh my God, this play is about to go nowhere. Oh, this is going to be ass. And then suddenly, some way, somehow, he just beats the defender, slips a pass under his triangle perfectly onto some guy's tape, and the Flyers just continue playing offense. And that happens like 3 times in a shift. He is the only player forward or defenseman I have seen be able to do that at such a consistent rate since Adam Fox. Adam Fox is the other one. Surprisingly, he's also small and can't skate. And the reason it doesn't matter for Adam Fox is because it's like you try to come at this dude, and not only are they smart, they just don't have a panic threshold. Like most players, when you come at them and you're about to steamroll them, they go, oh, fuck, and do something stupid that they wouldn't otherwise do. With them, they just don't care. You can send 8 forecheckers the size of Valerie Nichushkin on their ass, and they just don't care.
I think a lot of that goes back to the fact that some fans, and I'm not saying all, but who complain about Michkov, I think it goes back to the fact that you're not going to have like a McKinnon style with him, and that's never who he is. And a lot of the plays that make him what he is are very subtle. So unless you're looking for it and really watching the game, you really don't see some of it, especially like I just got done talking about when he doesn't have a player with him who can kind of read the game the way he can and see where he's going with pucks. Because like as soon as he touches the puck, he knows where he's going with it as soon as it touches his tape. So I think a lot of that goes back to the fact, like I just got done saying, a lot of the fans don't really, I mean, I don't know if they just don't know who he is yet in terms of what kind of superstar that we think that he can be. But I think it's kind of unfair to him that a lot of these people expect him to be like Nathan McKinnon. They expect like a Jack Hughes style where he's kind of just like Trevor Zegras with the puck and his head's bobbing, you know what I mean? Like just not shiftiness. It's just not who Michkov is. It's never who he has been. And playing with guys on top of him and two grown, I mean, he played in the KHL as a 16-year-old, so he's used to having defensemen who are bigger than him be on his back and making plays off that. I mean, those are a lot of what we saw tonight. I mean, I think, like I just was saying, if we don't see Barkey and him together, start screaming, dude, even more than we have been.
Oh my God, I know. Like clearly there is a chemistry there. Honestly, maybe it's even more so than with Zegras and Michkov. Like there is something about Barkey and Michkov. They know where the other one is. They look for each other. They played not at all together before tonight, and it's like, man, these guys just know right where the other one is. It's I think it was pretty exciting, honestly.
Which goal was it? I think it was the
one that Michkov because was it Barkey that scored that, or what? Or no, it was I think Barkey.
It was the sealer one when Barkey's coming down the wall on the not the far wall, the close wall. He curls up and sauces the puck backhand into a nice little soft area where Michkov knows it should go, and it does go there. Picks it up, makes his play around the far wall, his side of the wall. We'll get into that. And then obviously he finds Juleson, who finds Barkey. By the way, that Juleson to Barkey pass, like right in the middle, terrible. I don't know how you missed Barkey's tape, but it hit his fucking boot. But beautiful play, and it all started with Barkey curling up and saucing it backhand into an open area where he knew Michkov was going to be, and it all goes back to that. Like they just read off each other really well, and I don't know if it's better than him and Zegras because we haven't seen them together enough to fucking make that assumption. I would like to fucking see Michkov and Zegras together more, so I'm pretty confident that those two would be a little bit better chemistry-wise in terms of Barkey.
How about all three? Like, I don't care about the size of that line. Michkov is like 250 pounds. Just ask Rick Tocchett.
that would, dude, you'll never see that line. You'll never. Barkey, Zegras in the middle, and then Michkov, you'll never see that line.
No, they'd be scared to death of the size, but it's like, I'm not. Look, I would be.
I hear you, dude.
I would be if in certain players, like, I wouldn't want 3 Cole Caulfields on a line. I love Cole Caulfield. He's a great player, but it's like that's the kind of size that's going to get played off the court. But you can have a Denver Barkey and a Matvei Michkov on the same line because neither of those dudes play like their size.
No, especially Barkey. I mean, that guy, he looks like he just coming from juniors last year, in the AHL this year, but he looks like he's still 20 years old. He was a teenager a year ago. It's crazy how size just doesn't matter, man. It's just if you give a fuck and you compete hard enough and you play like a dog. He is a dog, man. You got to give it to him. He's a dog. He's a fucking.
And you have a little bit of that skill in tight. Like, look, you can have all the edge that you want. If you rile yourself up and, start making hands of stone plays, your compete ain't going to matter. The thing about Barkey is he keeps his poise for as intense as he is. That's pretty special. That's pretty hard to do.
Yeah, but you also see guys who are kind of the opposite. You have the skill, but you don't have that dog in you, like the Morgan Frost. If Morgan Frost had the compete and moved his feet like Denver Barkey, he'd be a fucking top 25 player in the league, but he just doesn't. So you see that kind of flip flops a little bit with some players, but he's a guy that should not go back to the AHL. He's really fun. I really, really, really hope that they find a way to keep him with Michkov somehow and try to get him the fuck away from Couturier. But honestly, I do want to go through some questions. Go ahead.
I was about to say this whole conversation segues into a question/comment very well from Just Be Frank, Bro. I will use his wording, so let me pull up.
Is this from your quote tweet?
I believe so, yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Here we go. From Let Me Be Frank, Bro on X. I'd love if you guys would do a segment about how some fans hate analytics and if those same fans would trust their personal finances to someone who just invests based on vibes in the eye test. It's like, yes, first of all, that is very funny and true. But the reason I brought it up now is because as much as we'll use Michkov as the example, because his analytics, if you go look at him in almost every case, the models differ or whatever. In almost every model, he looks ridiculous. And what the analytics are really catching here is it's like all those subtle plays that we were just talking about, the eye test can't catch all of them. The box score doesn't catch all of them. You know what catches it? The shot clock, where it's like, Flyers got another shot. Flyers got another shot. How is this happening? Flyers, Michkov left the ice, and now the Flyers just gave up 5 shots instead of creating 3. What analytics is picking up is it's like, dude, when this 39 kid steps out on the ice, I don't know how he's doing it. That's where the eye test comes in to determine how is he doing it. But what I do know is what's happening, which is you guys create a lot more chances than you otherwise do, and you don't allow nearly as many as you otherwise would. Like what people mystify analytics. It's why I technically don't even really like the term analytics, because it makes it sound like voodoo. No, it's just a simple calculation of like, dude, this is what happens on the ice when X player is on the ice versus somebody else, versus any other Flyer. Like tonight, it was one of the more hilariously lopsided examples where it's like when Michkov was on the ice for the Flyers at 5-on-5, the actual score was 2-0 Flyers. The expected score was essentially 2-0 Flyers. And when Michkov left the ice at 5-on-5, what happened? The Flyers got fucking trounced, both in the chances and in the goals. If you want to go back into the tape, you will see how that happened. But I wouldn't blame you watching live if you didn't just process all of that. What's happening there is the numbers are catching something you're missing. And in small samples, sometimes what you're missing is just noise, like just things happen that he had nothing to do with but is benefiting from. For a game, that can happen. Or for a game, somebody could be like ridiculously good, but they had a 20% expected goal share. That happens in a game. As the season winds on and as you get more and more games added to the sample, all that comes out in the wash. And that's when you can really look at these numbers and see, how is this player affecting the scorecard? How is this player affecting the Flyers' ability to generate shots and limit shots against? That's analytics. Nothing crazy. Like you don't need an equation for it. People mystify it and then dismiss it because of the mystification in their head. what I really try to do whenever I go on these tangents is really try to simplify it for people. It's not all it is it's plus minus with a bigger sample size. The reason plus minus has its downfalls is because it's like you can maybe get 100 goals in a year for a player who plays a ton of minutes. And I mean both sides. So it's like, let's say the score is 51-49. 100 goals is not a big sample size. It's not like basketball where it's like, how many points did this team score when this player was on the ice or not? They're scoring 100 points every night. So it's thousands of points that you can examine. That's a huge sample size. With hockey, you can't do that because goals are a lot more rare than buckets. So what we're doing is we're using shots and chances and things that happen way more often than just goals. And then we're checking, like, okay, do the goals also come with that? Like Sean Couturier is a good example right now, unfortunately, of yes, the expected goal share is great, but he just doesn't have the offensive touch to translate the expected goals into actual goals. With Couturier, we know that's the case because we've watched him fail to do it for 4 years or 3 years. With other players, yes, it could be a Couturier situation. More often, it's just shitty luck. Like Michkov before tonight had shitty luck. That was 99% of what was going on. He hasn't beat a goalie since November 9th. Yeah, because his luck was horrific.
It's crazy that goal came from the right side too.
Now,
right?
Yeah, like totally nuts. And that's the other thing. There are little details like that. Like Michkov on the left side is probably going to finish below expected. Not that far below expected to where he's not scoring for 2 months, but he's not going to finish the way he could finish. Michkov on the right side is probably going to finish above expected because he's a talented shooter from that side of the ice. Gee, I don't know. Maybe we should play him there.
So much more natural looking on that side of the ice.
See him like, I had this thought, and it was something I had to myself. I don't even think I've posted about this yet, but I have talked about Michkov's mile skated before and just how much he's moving on the ice. And I've used it to kind of dunk on the idea that he's fat and just completely out of shape and he can't move. But I also had another thought. Why is he moving that much, especially as a winger? Is it because he's continuously trying to get to the right side of the ice when he's starting from the left side? So he's like, let me just work my way over here. And he's just adding on extra miles and miles every single shift.
They chase the puck a lot, his line.
They do. It's also that. So it's like, he's going to move a lot either way, but is the reason he's moving, let's say, rather than 75th percentile, he's moving at 98th percentile because he's continuously trying to get to the right side? Maybe. I don't know. It's almost impossible to say, but it makes some sense in my head.
I think I asked Charlie O'Connor a couple of days ago if anyone's asked Tocchett why he insists of putting him on the left side. And Charlie came back with something along the lines of he thinks, and he's talking about Tocchett, that Michkov works better on the left side because of the speed through the neutral zone. And I saw somebody comment, I don't know if it was on that specific tweet or just about the situation, but the breakout right now in general, these wings are pretty stationary as it is. So, I mean, I don't really think that the speed of the neutral zone of him being on the left side is really matters that much with the way that they break pucks out.
No. I kind of get it's one of those things where I can see what he's thinking. I just don't know why he's thinking it, as in, okay.
Tocchett or Charlie?
Tocchett. When Michkov is on the left side of the ice, he can catch those short breakout passes easier. And theoretically, he doesn't have to turn his feet or make a move or anything. He can just go.
Yeah.
And I get that. That makes total sense. Here's the problem. Michkov just going isn't scaring anybody. Like,
yeah.
Michkov does not have the ability to, as I phrased it in a post, beat defenders vertically. Okay, he's not Deshaun Jackson taking the top off the defense. That is not what he's doing. Like, so what does that extra quarter of a second really mean? With Michkov, the way he's going to beat defenders is he's going to beat them laterally. He's going to beat them with a cute little move. He's going to beat them by protecting the puck just enough to make a smart pass. That's the sort of shit he's going to do. And he's more comfortable doing that on the right. So yes, Michkov might be better at playing Tocchett hockey on the left side of the ice. But going back to that thread that we had alluded to earlier, I don't care how Michkov best plays Tocchett hockey. I care about how Tocchett can get Michkov to play his best Michkov hockey. And that's not just for Michkov. That's for any player. Any player. Now, Michkov is, like we said, the most important there. But it's also like Trevor Zegras. How does Trevor Zegras play the best Trevor Zegras hockey?
I mean, look at Konechny. This is not the best system for Konechny. And I mean, I don't think he's had a terrible season. But, I mean, let's look at it. What's he had this year? I think he's just under a point per game. But, like, I don't have to give you the specific numbers, but that's this system is not really the best fit for a lot of these guys, to be completely honest with you. I think Konechny has 39 and 45 right now. 39 points in 45 games.
Not bad, but...
No, it's not bad. But I think in Tortorella's system, that more of that run and gun style, that's what he's a little bit more best suited for. And I think that's why you saw him have his 76-point season under him.
Yeah, exactly. And I posted, who on the Flyers is playing better offensively this year than they were the year before? I can't think of a single person. Yeah, maybe Tippett, but even Tippett, it's like, well, he's got like 4 more points, and it's very sort of negligible. So it's like you have guys that haven't regressed, then you have guys who have completely stagnated, and then you have guys who have actively regressed. You don't have guys who are like, whoa, he is legitimately wildly better than he was. Even Trevor Zegras, like somebody pointed it out, I think it was Josh again, his points per 60, I know people hate the per 60 thing, but the points per hour of ice time, it is lower with us than it was last year with Anaheim once he got healthy. Once he came back after the injury stints for his last 40 games of that season, he was scoring at a more efficient rate for Anaheim than he is scoring for us right now. And that's while he's shooting 18%. Like, come on, he's not being put in a position to make the plays that we know he can make. His assist totals are way down. Like, not even Trevor Zegras is outright better playing this style of hockey than he would be playing another style of hockey. I can't think of a single forward, especially, who is actively benefiting from the way the Flyers are playing. And if that's the case for every single forward, I find it difficult to blame literally all of them.
You know what the crazy thing is? He's still shooting 16.7% over there since January 1st.
That's pretty nuts. Like, he's
still shooting pretty high. Yeah. He is.
Like, he's a career, I think, 12, 13% shooter. So, he's going to regress a little bit. But he might not get all the way back to 13. Like, he might settle around 15 for the year.
Yeah, I mean, from October 8th to January 1st, he was shooting 17.4. So, honestly, his shooting percentage hasn't really changed.
Yeah, very mild regression, like you would expect, but the bottom isn't going to fall out. This isn't Owen Tippett, who is a 9% shooter, suddenly shooting 18%. Like, that wasn't going to last. We all knew that. But, Trevor Zegras, 13% shooter, is shooting 18%. Yeah, that's a little high, but it's going to come down to, let's say, 15.
Guess who has the most shots?
Owen Tippett, for sure.
Yeah, 94. He's shooting 12.8 on the season. It's not terrible.
I do know. I believe it's a little bit different if you ask who has the most high danger chances. Natural Stat Trick tracks those. I believe Christian Dvorak has the most.
That's what I mean. Like, Christian hasn't been bad this year. Like, I think a lot of people take the comments about like with the contract and immediately run to that sort of thinking that we hate him as a player. Like I said, it has to do a lot with the connecting talk the last couple of years, but it has nothing to do with Dvorak as an actual player. He's pretty solid. They would have handed him 2 years at 5. I wouldn't give a fuck. But
Look,
the
I
5
like
years
Dvorak
is
a hell of
crazy.
a lot more than I like Couturier, and I might like Dvorak more than I like Cates.
Can I throw something at you that I was thinking the other day? I have no faith that they actually think this way or would do this, but they're not that far apart in age. Do you think maybe the Dvorak signing is them being like, okay, we're not maybe going to do it now, but we're a little bit more open to trading Cates than we were before? I mean, we have 3 guys who are the exact same fucking player. Couturier, I don't see how you're moving off that contract. Dvorak obviously isn't going anywhere. So Cates is the only guy that they can move off of. Out of those 3 guys, that's somewhat like a real thing that could be reality, I guess you could say. I don't know. Just trying to think of how they improve this center depth with what they have right now. I know Luchenko's coming. I don't know how much longer we have to wait for him. And even when we do see him, is he a 3C to start?
Is he going to be playing for the World Juniors at 35 years old?
But seriously, though, like maybe Cates is a guy that they can package with a winger and a pick and get. I don't know.
I'm really just starting to think. Trade kicks in. Do we want to?
Robert Thomas isn't even happening anymore. He's on IR.
Well, hey, Trevor Zegras was on IR. That just means we got him eventually, right?
I would love Robert Thomas. I think that's one of the questions.
One of my favorite players.
Before I ask that question, it goes off what you were just saying about Tippett and like those determining if a player's regressed or progressed over a season. This was at Stakatoshi. Stakatoshi. What is your threshold for determining if a player got better under a certain coach? Tippett. He's on pace for 48 points, which would be plus 5 points over last season's 43. Is that a success? And can you attribute that to Tocchett?
So I think it's points is one metric that you can use. And if it's a wild case where, let's just say, for example, Tippett jumped to 60 points this year, then I wouldn't need to look much deeper. And I'd just immediately say that Tippett got better with Rick Tocchett. When it's like he's averaging or he's on pace for 5 more points this year than his previous career high, I would say it's possible he got better, but then I would have to go in and look at, whether it be the on-ice metrics or just my simple evaluations of the tape, like, has this player gotten better? I actually do think Owen Tippett is, besides my rant, maybe the one flyer I look at and say, wow, he's gotten actually measurably better this season than he was previously. I just think he approaches the game in a much better way. I don't know if he's gotten fully rewarded for that at any point this season yet, but he's trying to hold on to pucks. He's trying to not get light years ahead of his teammates. He's going for that burst of speed at the right time rather than just go in turbo time anytime he touches the puck and then punishing the plexiglass. I think he's made genuine strides in his game. Now, you could say that he's made genuine strides in his game. He's still not a 50-point player. Does that speak ill of the ceiling? Potentially, though. I do wonder if Tippett was going to take this cerebral development path anyway, as in he was going to get a little better to watch regardless of whether Tocchett showed up or not. And
as he got older, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And if we were still playing run and gun hockey, would he have more points? Probably.
Actually, and I'll say this, people will say that you're negative. Look at you fucking sticking up for Owen Tippett.
Yeah, right?
I was actually thinking about this, and you just kind of remind me with would he be better in that kind of system? I actually think it's the opposite. I think the system that he's in has kind of honed in that sporadic kind of play that he had, where in a run and gun system, that's kind of invited more, I think, in a Tortorella system. yeah, go ahead, the 2-on-1s, the 3-on-1s, break out early if you see your center with the puck in your defensive zone, break out a little bit early. I think that kind of invited his sporadic play. I think this controlled kind of do this when you enter the zone kind of direction that he's been given has kind of helped him, I think.
Yeah, especially as far as like he now has a competitive advantage that like he needs, as in we need Owen Tippett nowadays because we absolutely need to beat defenses vertically in transition if we're going to do anything in transition. Like we need that level of speed. Last year with Torts, I don't really think we needed Owen Tippett to be as fast as Owen Tippett was because it was like we're starting ahead of the play anyway. I think I'd rather have Michkov with his 270 hockey IQ rather than Owen Tippett going 300 miles an hour. Just wasn't as useful then. But when you're playing Tocchett hockey, when you're starting behind the 8-ball on every transition, it's real nice to have a dude who can start behind the 8-ball and end up ahead of it with 3 strides.
And I think a lot of teams, they know that they're not going to get beat by that home run stretch pass, so they don't really give us any kind of respect through the neutral zone. It's very crowded. And I think that's another reason why you see these games where they just can't break pucks out. And obviously you have those games here and there where both teams let the neutral zone completely free and there's just guys skating through it. But yeah, I think this, like we said earlier in the podcast, this system's very limiting for a lot of players. And I think we're starting to see regression in terms of them not getting those bounces. And I think we're starting to see what this team is. And I mean, I don't want to be too much of a Debbie Downer. I mean, like getting Drysdale back is huge, but it's not everything. And I think we're starting to see like Vladar, his injury, we'll see how long he's gone for. Like we haven't even gotten into Sam Urson. We haven't even gotten into a lot of these questions. So I kind of want to, I'm going to go kind of quick with these. I'm going to read them or answer them and to kind of move on because there's a lot. I want everyone to at least get their question in real quick. So we have Justin. Shout out Justin. Do you think the Flyers could go against the grain and take a small two-way puck-moving defenseman like Ryan Lynn in the draft to counteract their reliance on Drysdale? Parentheses, they are similar defensemen in my eyes. And I thought the reply to this, somebody replied to him and said, don't they already have enough small D-men? I mean, isn't that the reason why they didn't draft Boyum? Which is pretty funny because that is the reason we were told why they didn't go and select him. But I do think we noticed how desperately they missed Drysdale in terms of moving the puck when he was gone. And I don't think there's anybody in the system right now that moves pucks the way Drysdale would and can. And I'm not, I mean, I like Bonk, but I mean, I think the number one thing with Bonk since he's been in juniors between me and Derek has been his play under pressure on the forecheck, moving pucks. That's been the one thing that I think he needs to improve on. That's not his forte, I should say. But
exactly. So I would almost separate that question into should they do it and will they do it? My answer to should they do it is as long as there isn't some other freakish talent on the board, yeah, I would look at Ryan Lynn and be like, get that dude in here pronto. You know, I'm not going to draft him over Chase Reed or Gavin McKenna or Var Stenberg. You know, sure, if we end up with a top 5 pick, then yeah, I'm probably not drafting Ryan Lynn. But if we end up at 8th overall, yeah, Ryan Lynn's going to be one of the first guys I think of because I think Justin's evaluation is correct. I think he's very similar to the way Drysdale plays now. I don't know if he's quite as gifted a skater as Drysdale, but I do know that he's more gifted with the puck than Jamie is. So it is almost like a bit of a fusion of Jamie and Cam York in a little bit of a way. So yeah, I look at somebody like Ryan Lynn. I think the Flyers should be all over a defenseman like that. Now that's the answer to should they. The answer to will they is probably not because I think have they drafted an undersized defenseman with a meaningfully high pick since Danny came aboard?
No.
And
I mean, they traded for one in Cairo, but draft, no.
So I don't know that I would expect them to do it for a top 12 pick. Now, maybe they prove me wrong. Their drafting is a little bit hard to track.
Yeah,
as in
it is.
Who the hell they like changes on a year. I feel like with the Red Wings are a funny example of this. I know who the Red Wings like every year. Like, I just know. I like, oh, yeah, that dude's a Red Wing. With the Flyers, I don't know, man. They like everybody but the guy they should like half the
time. Will it ever end? Flyers Purgatory on X. If the plan is to acquire the 1C and 1D through pure luck of another team's mismanagement, how do the Flyers plan to do that with only 1A level prospects? It's very interesting. It's a very good question, because it's like I saw somebody say something along the lines of, if Vancouver, if Minnesota, not Minnesota. Why am I? If Vancouver didn't want what we were offering, what makes you fucking think somebody else will? And it had me fucking crying. But it is true though.
And
the hope is somebody values it differently, I guess.
It's almost the dumbest fucking possible conversation, because somebody will hit that and, the response will be, well, it's not that Vancouver didn't want what we were offering. It's that Vancouver wanted Michkov from Martone and the Flyers weren't willing to give those two up. Will they be willing to tomorrow for a player who's not as good as Quinn Hughes? Answer, probably not. So back at square one.
I don't see a center becoming available on the Quinn Hughes level on the trade market. But
exactly.
That's a really good question. I really don't know, man. That's the question everyone wants to answer. I mean, ask. How are they going to get this 1C? How are they going to get this 1D? Will they start snowballing these losses? Honestly, I'm not rooting for it, but if it happens, it happens. I mean, they could end up with a top 10 pick. We'll see if this losing continues. Maybe they luck out in the lottery. I don't know. A lot of luck is going to have to happen, in my opinion. I really don't see how you are going to acquire what they need in the position that they're in. I really do think the Avengers on the wing, something Derek said almost a year ago, is maybe what they're trying to go for. And the Dvorak signing, the re-signing at least, kind of tells me that they're kind of thinking in that way. I mean, I don't think it actually fully means that, but
what I will say is I do believe the number one center and the number one defenseman are different discussions, because it's going to be really hard to draft a number one center without getting that dude in the top 10. And the simple answer for that is the simple explanation rather is we as a league have a better idea of how to scout forwards than we do for how to scout defensemen. If you look back at the history of defensemen that were drafted, it is not the same as centers. With defensemen, you'll have your top 5 picks, but then you'll have, this guy dropped to 76th overall and he's a top 10 defenseman. That happens a surprising amount for defensemen. With centers, however, it's a very rare day where it's like Sebastian Aho got drafted in the second round and he's the number one center for Carolina. I believe Sebastian Aho and Rupe Hintz are the only two number one centers who did not go in the first round. And we're not talking about superstar number one centers there. So with the number one center discussion, unless you luck into Robert Thomas or somebody similar, you're probably going to need one more top 10 pick. And you're going to have to hope you hit on that one more top 10 pick. But you are going to need one more top 10 pick. With the defenseman, the number one defenseman, I'm not as worried, because I do think, Lane Hudson was literally just drafted at 62nd overall not that long ago.
Well, he's the exception because of the size. No team was going to go near him because of old hockey man rule.
Yeah. And that's the thing is defensemen overall are so old hockey man rule brained that you're going to see people like him drop a lot. Cole Hudson dropped Right as Lane Hudson was proving it, Cole Hudson dropped. So I do think you can get a number one defenseman without tanking, but the number one center, I don't know. You're going to have to get real lucky with a team that's willing to trade with you that doesn't want Michkov or Martone, or you're going to have to get one more top 10 pick, and you're going to have to hit on it.
Yeah, I think those are probably the two avenues. Like you said, get really lucky with a team that, for some reason, is trading a talent that has the possibility of becoming a 1C who doesn't want Martone or Michkov. Or, like you said, top 10 pick. We'll see. Maybe they get lucky. Maybe they continue losing. They get lucky in the draft lottery and they land one.
I mean, as long as they don't find a way to draft the new Jack Nesbitt at 8th overall, I think we're okay.
From Alex, shout out Alex. Who is the player not named Michkov that you're highlighting the most to step up until the Olympic break hits? I thought this was a really good question.
Nobody step up. I want that top 10 pick. We just talked about it.
I mean, to answer the question, it would have to be either Coots or Konechny if we're going to actually seriously answer that question.
Look, I want Couturier to figure out a way to hit 10 goals this year, okay? So let's get Couturier there. Like, come on, man. Look, I'm not saying I need you to hit 50, but you have 5?
He's been brutal, dude. Like, to seriously answer that question, Coots or Konechny. I mean, I would like to see Konechny pick it up a little bit more than he has been, but those are the two guys.
Konechny's been a genius playmaker for the other team over this losing streak.
That play today was disgusting along the board. I think it was Pittsburgh's fourth goal.
The right way.
Really bad. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting question because if there isn't Michkov, I think those are the two guys. I mean, you got Couturier, you got Michkov sticking up for Barkey today while Couturier is just sitting there watching. Great captain.
Bushes or something. Yeah. Great job, Captain.
Great job. See if there are any other. We got Brett BT talking about the Robert Thomas possibility.
Or
Brady Tkachuk. Yeah.
I do not need Brady Tkachuk on this team, honestly.
I would really like Robert Thomas. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, same here.
Unfortunately. Flyers Dom, what books have you all been reading recently? His comment had me crying. Yeah, I just started reading because fuck this.
Our exchange in the morning. It was funny. The Flyers are gonna make me get a PhD by next year.
So I started reading the fucking Bible because of this team.
Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Brett had another question. What is a realistic trade deadline look for us? Maybe we trade Brink, Cates, Risto. If Risto was fucking not injured, like I just got done talking to my girl Chris. I think it was Chris. It's like I want them to cash in on Ristolainen. He's 31 years old. He's constantly hurt. And he's a right-handed defenseman, which is gold to these GMs. If you can find a way to offload him for any kind of asset, you do it. And I think 3 days later, he got hurt. 3-4 days later, he got hurt again. And he's day to day. When I saw that fucking tweet come from the Flyers, it was like, Ristolainen date. I genuinely had PTSD flashbacks. There's no fucking way he's day to day. I will never see that man again. Dude, we got LTI 6 games out of him.
Is calling his name, okay? He's Ryan Ellis at this point.
It's insane. Dude, Ellis is going to... Hold on, real quick. We have Atkinson's contract coming off next year after 1.7 of that coming off. Hayes' and Lawton's are coming off next year too. So we have a lot of money coming off the books this summer. That's going to happen. We're going to add like 2 dudes.
Like a lot of Christian Dvoraks to extend.
No, so those guys are going to get wiped off the slate, and we're going to add fucking Couturier because he can't play anymore. And then fucking, what's his name? Ristolainen, because the dude can't fucking stay healthy. It's insane. They need, if he's healthy, Brett, to answer your question, Ristolainen would be my number one guy to offload. Absolutely. I think it's insane not to entertain that.
And you are going to
what you
have to
said.
look at which wingers have a long-term future with this team and which don't, because you're going to have Forrester coming back healthy pretty soon here, and you're going to have Martone coming in. You're going to have Bump, who's going to be ready for a call-up soon. Like, you got 3 wingers who are right on the precipice of needing NHL minutes, and yes, I'm using the negative context for a reason. They're going to have to play for the Flyers. It is definitely something to be afraid of. But regardless, they are right on the verge of playing NHL minutes. We got 3 winger spots that we need to vacate.
Yeah, I mean, like, Barkey's not going anywhere either, hopefully, anytime soon. So there's a lot of wingers here, man. A lot of wingers here. I tweeted out January 1st, what do you think they go in January? And I had a lot of replies. You said 5 and 10. Flyer Dom said 0-0 and 15. A lot of people said 5, 8 and 2. Braden Marshall said 6 and 9, and that's being generous. Right now, they are in January. They are 2, 4 and 1. So that's what we started out so far in January.
On a pretty good pace for 5 and 10.
Yep. Unfortunately. Well, fortunately, depending on how you look at it. Yeah. I mean, if you seriously don't think that there's any other way that they can get a 1 seed, this is, I mean, I hate to say it, you are probably rooting for them to keep losing and get a good draft pick. I mean, there is a section of the fan base who wants to see that. And there's a section of the fan base that just wants them to see them make the playoffs. I don't want them to make the playoffs just so the organization can point and be like, look, we made the playoffs. Nothing. It doesn't matter how we got there. It doesn't matter if we went down in 45 fucking games 1-0 to start and clawed our way back in every single one. It doesn't matter that we let Dan Vladar stand on his head. It doesn't matter that we have no power play or PK. That doesn't matter. But look, guys, we made it. That's what I don't want to happen. Like Derek said, if they turn this around and they start winning games because Michkov is putting up points. Him and Zegras are on power play 1 together. Zegras has moved over to the center position. He's centering Michkov and Barkey. Yeah, I'm all in. But that's not what's going to happen. That's not what has happened. And I think we're finally starting to see that regression, unfortunately.
Yeah, 100%. And it's probably a good thing. We can know it's probably a good thing because not even the organization was sitting here saying, look, guys, we are in a playoff spot. We're going to make it. Let's go. Like, where was Danny to be like, I'm so proud of these dudes. We're going to make the most of this. The rebuild is over. Like, if Danny really believed that they've entered their competitive window, he could have come out and said that. He could have come out and said anything close to that. Instead, he basically sounded like, oh no, this team's got a bomb strapped to its chest and the timer's running low. Okay, it's about to implode. And then they asked Keith Jones like 2 days ago. It's like, so how you feeling about the season? And Keith Jones might as well have been like, well, So even the front office is sitting there like, yeah, this really ain't a playoff team. And
I mean, I would hope so. They're guys.
Yeah.
You're not watching the fucking games?
Exactly. And if the front office is coming to that conclusion, then I think it's a full-on permission slip for the fans to be like, all right, yep, time to tank.
Well, it's funny you say that. There was something that Charlie said, and I think it had to do with the Columbus coaching change. It has to do a lot with how I feel about this team and like why I just said what I said about making the playoffs just so they can
remember it.
Yeah, but it's true though. Like, I'm not even saying this to dunk on them. It's true, and it's generally how I look at the Flyers situation. He said, fascinated to learn the behind-the-scenes stuff here because without that, this looks like from afar a lesson to coaches. Don't dramatically overachieve with a talent-deficient roster because then those above you will think it's actually good and irrationally raise their expectations. And that's what I just got done saying. They were winning in ways that I didn't think were sustainable. So I was worried that if they continued to do that, they were going to convince the higher-ups, the Keith Joneses, the Dan Hilferdys, the Bobby Clarks, all those guys up there, that this is actually a playoff team and they should go out and spend assets to continue pushing them through. Now, I'm not going to put moves in Danny's mouth that he hasn't made yet, but who's to say that they actually were going to do that, even if they continued winning? But that was my fear. That's all I'm saying.
Right, 100%. If they're not doing that, then there's no harm, no foul here. Though once again, the irony of Charlie being like that was like, with the Columbus Blue Jackets, man, what the hell? You guys overperformed, and now you're blaming your coach. But then the minute the Flyers come up, he's like, of course they can make the playoffs. They're not talent deficient at all. What the hell's wrong with you? Like,
well, the point that he made of the fact that like they're not lacking high end skill anymore as much as we think they were missing it is true with the Zegras and the Michkov, but I mean they definitely need more.
Well, it's funny because if you ask Rick Tocchett that, I don't think he'd come to that conclusion.
I don't give a fuck what he thinks, dude. If
Neither
you
do
don't
I.
look at the fucking Tampa games, if you don't look at the Tampa games and don't think we need more talent on this team, regardless of Michkov, regardless of Zegras, regardless of Martone coming, if you don't think we need more skill just up and down through this lineup, you're crazy. You're absolutely insane. I don't give a fuck what kind of system that you're running.
Not to do the let's call Tocchett every evil name in the book session, though I am a big fan of those. We do have to talk about my favorite annoying habit of Tocchett's, which is to completely misidentify the playing style of players. Like,
oh yeah, Kucherov cuts into the middle of the ice on the power play. It's like, dude, he doesn't move on the wall. He's literally his skates are stapled down to the ice. He does not move.
Or Owen Tippett reminds me of Mikko Rantanen, the way he flies through the neutral zone.
Fuck are you talking about?
When's the last time you see Mikko Rantanen fly through the neutral zone? Like, what? It's a little bit concerning, actually, because this is my head coach trying to tell my NHL roster how to play hockey, and he doesn't know how any of the people around the league are playing hockey. Like, what's he doing? Telling Owen Tippett, like, yeah, bro, do it like Mikko Rantanen.
Whatever he told Tippett kind of worked, but that was a fucking crazy.
He's going up and telling Trevor Zegras, yeah, do it like Kucherov. No, not like that. Cut into the middle while you're on the power play.
Josh Yeo, I think this guy's name is a Penguin beat writer. He tweeted out, Rick Tocchett just said that the Flyers should watch a video of Sidney Crosby to get better at protecting the puck. It's like, oh, thanks.
Oh, was it that easy, bro? Oh, shit.
Never thought of that.
Protection mix for you. Don't worry.
I mean, let me write that down real quick, Rick. That didn't cross the old brain. Sorry, boss.
Crosby tape to get better at protecting the puck. Wow, great, that easy.
I'm gonna go watch a Shohei Ohtani highlight just so I can throw the ball real fast. What the fuck, man?
Yo, while they're at it, could they watch some OV highlights so they can score 900 goals?
Unreal, dude. Unreal.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Real quick before.
Okay, look.
Okay.
I can call him a terrorist. I can call him the Antichrist. I can call him Pennywise. I can call him fundamental evil. The real problem here is not any of that. The real problem here is that this dude keeps giving me reasons to believe he's not evil because he has no idea what the fuck he's doing. And that's a bigger problem.
Absolutely. Like he should be our defensive coach, because like if he was just like the defensive assistant, I'd be cool with it.
Yeah, like Vancouver fans have really come to this consensus where it's like, I do genuinely believe Rick Tocchett is a very good assistant coach, and I believe when he's tasked with just focusing on little things that he picked up while he was playing and defensive systems like that and maintaining relationships with players, he's really great at that stuff. There's a reason John Cooper brings him onto his staff. What he's not really good at is running a team.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we'll see where we are next week. This was episode 122 of the Liberty O. Real quick before we go, I look at the conference standings. They're at 52 points. They're 11th in the conference, and they got Florida right behind them with a game in hand at 51 points. There is a scenario where they come out of this game on Saturday against the Rangers like 13th in the conference.
Honestly, if they lose Saturday against the Rangers, I'm half expecting that we're going to lose 10 in a row, because the Rangers should be the gimme game. If you can't win that, you got Colorado coming, you got Vegas coming, even Utah's a little bit of a feisty team. Like, I don't think you're going to beat those three dudes if you can't beat the Rangers, and that's 9 right there.
And we're going to Vegas, Utah, and Colorado. They're not coming here. We're there.
So if you can't pick up a win against the Rangers, and God bless us, maybe they won't be able to pick up a win against the Rangers. At that point, this losing streak could get real long.
Well, we said it, I think, last episode. January was a very important month for them to see where they were. And we said it. If they continued to win, we would change our tune a little bit with this team because of just the teams that they play. And like you said, Rangers up next, Vegas, Utah, Colorado. Then they come home and see the Islanders, Columbus, Boston, and then the Kings to finish the month. So a lot of ifs. I mean, a lot of questions. We'll see where we're at this time next week. Like I said, this was 122 of the Liberty Yell. You can follow the Liberty Yell on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And you can follow Derek on X at suitable alias. And go Flyers.